Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back to another review of The Boys, Season 4, Episode 5, and this was a good one. Finally, the show writers elect to move themselves away from what they have no clue about, which is criticizing the right wing, and move back to presenting something, 1, gory and action-filled, 2, emotional, and 3, just a touch of the satire they actually understand as well. This was probably one of the overall most satisfying episodes in the series, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's like they touch upon everyone's side story. The weakest part about this episode was Frenchie again, because it just seems like they don't know what to do with that man.
Well, so he had his gay lover, and then he's suddenly like, oh, I'm a bad man. Like, yeah, the preceding 20 years of terrorist activity didn't teach you that, good. And now he's feeling bad about it, and he's going to turn himself over to the police. Alright, I mean, I don't hate it. There could be some sort of redemption arc is difficult to necessarily see here. Some sort of forgiveness, maybe. They bust him out of jail, or I don't know, maybe he gets tortured in jail by Vought or something, and he loses faith in the system, and I don't know, it's... I can see potential with this story arc. I'm just not entirely sure it's worth spending the time on.
Yeah, it's like he seems too emotionally broken and has no faith in himself or anyone around him. So it's either Vought's gonna snatch him up because they recognize him from the other escapades that he's done and try to torture him for information, or he's just in jail and a liability to everyone else once they find out that he is in jail.
I guess they could use him, in essence, to redeem Kimiko, because Kimiko is looking for her sister person, and she can't save her sister, so maybe she can save Frenchie, and maybe then together they can save her sister, I guess, by having all of the broken individuals come together in glorious broken harmony.
Oh, I guess we'll see in the next few episodes.
So for the overall story beats here, they decide to liberate Gustavo Fring from prison, because he knows where his crazy daughter, the head popper, is, who is apparently been experimenting with V'ing up farm animals, and then infecting them with the virus to try and replicate the anti-soup mass weapon of self-defense/genocide, which didn't work out great with superhero chickens and bats and everything else you could possibly imagine, just trying to murder them.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I didn't expect. It's like, yeah, sure, animal testing, that's a given, but seeing a little bit of Compound V got into the groundwater supply and infected this entire land, which means the sheep turned into weird vampire sheep, a bull that got devoured by said sheep, chickens, and that's really all we got to see, but I didn't expect sheep to go absolutely fucking feral just because they got contaminated with Compound V.
Now, one interesting thing is, there was a rabbit. The rabbit was not being fed V, the rabbit was being fed Temp V, and it developed weird writhing tentacle things, somewhat akin to the things that are squirreling around underneath Butcher's skin.
Yeah, it's like, I wonder if it was trying to react because Butcher was nearby, because it was trying to writhe in his direction. So could it be a, not necessarily hive mind, but something in the same vein where it is attracted to one another?
Or defending itself. I mean, rabbit gets out, drinks something, gets V, so it's now kind of like Butcher had Temp V, now gets access to full V, and then the rabbit gets wounded for some reason, or busts his little rabbit heart up or whatever, and Butcher is perceived as a threat, and the thing lashes out, because that's what happened to Ezekiel, where Butcher turned him into pizza topping all over his trailer.
they could possibly be going down the same route as John Carpenter's The Thing, where each and every individual cell is an individual thing and reacts in self-defense whenever it feels like it's threatened. So it might be similar to that.
Possibly. Now we have the government trying to recreate the virus as Butcher manages to get one of the top scientists and he's handing him over to the CIA, which is probably a good thing because Homelander is really starting to feel the Germany here. He's found his chosen people and he has briefed the rest of the superheroes that the time for revolution might be nigh.
Yep, he's rounded his troops and he started Ryan down the path of, hey, doesn't this feel good when you can control other people? And the child actor for Ryan is really good at replicating that same sinister facial expression that Homelander does. And it's terrifying. And I can honestly see this kid going a long way in acting. After he goes through puberty, because dear fucking God.
I am liking the idea of this essentially coming down to a battle over Ryan's soul, kind of, where Homelander is teaching him his way of viewing humans as just toys and entertainment, and eventually, I guess, Butcher, but... I mean, Butcher's going down the path of, like, virus now, and actually dedicating himself more to the CIA. I can see, because Huey has had his whole thing now with his dad finally dying after getting superpowers and killing a few people in the hospital by vibrating through them at super speed. But Huey might now have a lesson to teach Butcher about being a parent and all of that, and maybe that could get him back to Ryan, because I feel like Butcher is moving further away from Ryan now.
Yeah, it's like... What my predictions for this is going to be is that Huey is going to try to talk Butcher down into, like, out of killing every single soup and at least trying to save Ryan, because Dad Winchester, I forgot his name in this show, but he's like, nah, just kill everybody. Who gives a shit about that kid? Huey's going to try to be like, hey, that's... Like, you know, that's your wife's son. You promised her that you'd protect him. And then Butcher will be like, yeah, no, I know I'm not the best bloke and all that, but what would your mother think? And that type of thing.
Quite possibly. I'm looking forward to seeing the, like, back and forth between him and Homelander. And I'm again, the time seems they've got another, 3 episodes here and another full season, right?
I believe so. But I'm not sure if they are going to try to make the next season episodes longer than, like... These episodes are already, about 40 minutes or so already? They might try to push each episode of the next season maybe to be about an hour and a half long, which honestly would be the best thing, because Game of Thrones did something similar where their later episodes were longer, not necessarily good, but they were longer to tell more of the story.
It's also just a question of priorities. Like, this episode felt quite tight overall. There was very rarely a point at which you weren't interested. Either you had the emotional drama with Huey and his father, or you had the action of finding the farm and Compound V, or the suspense of Homelander and his son. It was pretty much hit for hit, whereas previous episodes have had long periods of just weird downtime. Like, if they can just keep the story beats to this, honestly, I'm kind of worried that they'll have too much time. And that's where the Frenchie thing comes from, where they write a really tight season and they're like, yeah, but we need like another episode. Can we do something with the French guy?
It's like, even in this episode where there was more, like, you know, not super engaging scenes, there was a lot of environmental storytelling, specifically when Starlight was still in her little, like, Starlight HQ thing where everything was spray painted, saying that firecrackers sent them and all this other stuff. There was hardly a word said, but you can see how much it was affecting her and what exactly happened there between last episode and this one.
Yeah, no, like the storytelling in this episode was actually excellent, which is kind of disappointing because then now I don't have anything to make fun of. That's the problem. And there wasn't a whole lot to mock this episode, rarely enough. Good television is so terribly boring sometimes.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, not every week has to be an absolute disaster. I mean, we had the presidential debate yesterday, so it's nice to have a little cool off.
It's nice to see the undead in entertainment again rather than real life, it is true. If I have one complaint, not enough Sister Sage. I want more Sister Sage. I want them to expand upon her. Give Frenchie screen time to her, please, because there's still more interesting stuff there. Like, the very fact that she's looking at this superhero supremacy thing, and she knows she's the least soupy of them all. Literally, all she is clever. And even then, she hates being clever, and she's surrounded by walking A-bombs. Every one of the other guys is lethal just by existing, practically, as they all have super strength, etc. now. She probably must be starting to wonder a little bit about her place in the hierarchy, and she's already probably come up with a plan surrounding that.
Oh, she definitely has, because, like, the actress for her definitely does more acting with her face and body language more than her voice, because she is very monotone most of the time. And you could probably tell if she had a change in stance and even just how she breathes. That if she was getting nervous or if she was still very confident. And she was still extremely confident in what she was doing. Because as soon as A-Train responded to her when she was like, oh, it's not like that video can just run out of the security or whatever. She could tell he was hesitating, and then something clicked after he responded to her. So it's like, she's still on the top of her game, and I honestly think she is at least 3 steps ahead of everybody else. At least right now.
I swear to God, I would love it if they would pivot her to be the big bad guy that teaches Homelander a lesson about that he's not quite as special as he thinks he is or something. Or even better, have the anti-V thing take away people's powers. Oh, that would be delicious.
Maybe with the testing that the one little scientist man is going to be doing.
A powerless Homelander. That would be justice. Poetic justice.
Yeah, that would be funny. Like, maybe try to come up with a non-lethal anti-V serum and stuff, because I'm sure Butcher would be like, hey, I want you to develop this so I can save my son, or whatever.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay, so he gets around the moral dilemma of releasing the virus upon the soup population by making it non-lethal. Just eliminates their powers.
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, this show has never really done the superhero fights very well anyways. The Soldier Boy fight was alright, but it doesn't really do the superhero fighting particularly well. So if we get screwed out of a big superhero fisticuff and instead a nice fake out with everybody thinking that Butcher's putting the virus out there and it actually turns out to just take away their powers, I think I'd prefer that, honestly.
Yeah, because it's like, they definitely put a lot of their special effects effort in the gore, not necessarily the action.
Oh, they do love their gore.
They love their gore, they love their porn.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes from here, honestly. This was a good episode of The Boys, and it returned to its left-wing satire, which it actually understands, so it actually hits. Good on you, writers. Write about what you know, and then, if you're really interested in satirizing the right wing, I'll send you some reading lists.
Oh my God. I think my favorite little jab at the left was the little Black Addict campaign that Bot wants to run. With Black Noir, Sister Sage, and A-Train. Just get Black Addict.
And the worst part is, that is something that could happen too. I can see that headline.